Why complacency is the killer, man. Okay, so why you got complacent is because you you got to that level where you wanted to be, and you thought to yourself where, oh, that's good enough, like I'm just gonna stay here, chill, this is good enough. So you let go of the gas pedal, and since you let go of the gas pedal, you stop putting in effort, whether that be your physique, your your business, all that stuff. You got to that level where you wanted to be. Like, let's say maybe you got to like in the video game, you got to like level 7, and you just stayed there. You didn't want to, you let go. Like, you didn't want to pursue pro how did I say that word? Keep going. You wanted to keep going. No, you didn't want to keep going. You just stayed at that level, and you just stop putting in the effort. And when you got to the higher levels, like when you wanted to like do those higher missions, you couldn't because you let go of the gas pedal and you stop putting in effort. And complacency will correlate with everything you do in your life, like with everything else, with every area of your life, with with the relationships that you have with people, all that. And it's because you're not holding yourself up to a standard where before you would wake up early, you would do your work, homework, work out. But now, you since you've been complacent, you started waking up later. Instead of 5, you woke up at maybe 10 a.m. And since you've been doing that, you've been getting complacent. It's much more way easier to fall back into your bad habits where you start watching porn again, you start eating that junk food, start getting DoorDash, all this stuff, and overall just making your life more worse. And yeah, just everything goes to shit where we're on top, like with your relationships, like especially like if you have a girlfriend where in the beginning everything was all good, when you guys were like barely talking, you were like you didn't make her your focus. Like, I mean, yeah, you did like put some time aside for her, spend some quality time with her. But now, she's gonna lose attraction to you because she sees that you haven't held yourself to the highest to the standard that you were when you guys were barely dating all this. And she's not wrong for for doing for losing attraction towards you because in the beginning, seeing how hard you were working, all this, and that's what she was attracted to. And on top, you will get less respect from the people that all that because they see a worser version of yourself where you're staying up late, eating the junk food, not really doing much. They see that you're on your phone basically like every day. Just watching TikTok, doing all this stuff, and they'll just lose respect for you. And on top, you lose respect for yourself because you let go of the gas pedal. You were doing so good and you just stop. And how do you get out of a rut where you're complacent and you just don't know what to do yet? Like, you don't know what to do. You're like you've been complacent on this. And what has helped me is by progressive deload, where before you were able to meditate like for 20 minutes, like every day. And instead, like since you've been complacent, and you haven't been doing it, you gotta start small again. And so instead of 20 minutes, you got to start with 30 seconds. And you might think, this, it's not going to make a difference because it's like just 30 seconds. It's like saying just doing one push up, it's not going to make a difference. And to that, I say that that's not what we're going for here. Right now, what we're doing is trying to get the ball rolling, where we're trying to get momentum, where because let's say, you've been complacent and you try to go back to meditating for 20 minutes. That's like saying, like, a noob going to the gym, who hasn't lifted, who wants to bench like maybe like 100, 150 pounds, he's not going to be able to do that because, it's too much for him. And that's the same way that this goes, this slide where you have to start small and you just have to let go of the ego where, where you think you're at that level where you think that because you meditated 20 minutes before, you're at that level, but in reality you're not. You lost levels, you lost XP, and that's why you keep falling back, and that's why you can't do that. You can't meditate for 20 minutes because you're not at that level yet. And it's similar to like doing a new game where you play the game and all that, and then you just restart and you just go back to square one where before you were able to meditate for 20 minutes or maybe like work out for an hour, all this. But now since you put a new game, you have to start small again. You have to start by doing like 20 push-ups a day. Maybe not even 20, maybe one, and then work your way up. And that's why you have to let go of your ego. And like this one is the most important because that's why you keep falling back because of your ego. Where how I just said earlier, where before you're able to do all this good stuff and like, all the good habits, like not missing a day, checking every box. You're on top of your shit. But now since you've been complacent and you try to go back to doing all those good habits, maybe you do like 5 good habits in a day. Maybe it's like meditate, work out, journal, all this stuff. When you try to go back to do them, it's gonna be hard because you're not at that level yet. You lost XP because of being complacent because of the poison damage. The poison damage like in games where you lose health, you lose levels. And it's just that's just how life is. You just have to start small, work your way up again, and you just have to let go of that ego. And yeah, that's basically what to do when you get complacent, and why it's very important, why complacency is a killer of man, and why you should try and avoid this, and try and avoid when there's moments in your life where moments in your life where you start to get complacent. You have to be more aware of like what you do, and you have to be more aware of like not letting go. You have to be aware of of where like where you realize that you start putting in effort and you be like, oh shit, like I haven't been putting as much effort as I have been before. Just be more aware of that, and just try and put a little bit more effort, so that way I can do more and more and more, if that makes sense. And yeah, just try not to get complacent because it's a lose lose situation for you, for everyone that you know. And yeah.